This episode is brought to you in association with Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis. By Total Performance Data, the world leader in thoroughbred performance technology, and by FitzDares.
Good morning and welcome back to the Nick Luck Daily Podcast. It is Tuesday the 18th of November. Josh in for Nick, reporting from a very crisp Newbury racecourse. I'm here because, of course, it is the Coral Gold Cup Gallops morning. Plenty of storylines always seem to come out of this event. Last year, Constitution Hill and Sagino was the main one, but we've got big name representatives including Constitution Hill. Nicky Henderson is here with his team. Paul Nicholls has got 6 with him today. I think Olly Murphy has also got 6 with him. Emma Lavelle, Harry Derham. Plenty of big names and big name jockeys, including one from the flat. Rob Hornby's here riding for Nicky Henderson. Harry Cobden, Nicola Boinville, Sean Bowen. I'm going to be trying to speak to as many of those as possible. As you can tell, I can barely put 2 words together. It's freezing here, absolutely Baltic, but we'll endeavour to try nevertheless, and hopefully you do enjoy this one. And I'm joined alongside Dave Stevens from Coral. Dave, a big morning and a big turnout.
Yeah, it's fantastic, Josh. This event now, 4th year for Coral involved here with the big feature race. And this Gallops morning that sits alongside it has just grown and grown every year. Hundreds of local Newbury members, Coral Racing Club members here, over 30 horses running. So I think the first thing is to thank everyone, connections, the lads and lasses that have bought the horses, as you say, on a wintry morning, proper National Hunt weather. All the members that have turned up. And it is something different for British racing. We see these events all around the world, generally at big international flat meetings. But to have it for this jumps meeting, we know how popular jump racing is in this country. And this morning just proves it. You know, temperatures below zero just hasn't stopped people. And they've been rewarded by a fantastic lineup.
I wouldn't have minded if it's a couple of degrees warmer. But we've got the big meeting in a couple of weeks' time. It's great to see so many big trainers turned out. For those that are watching on YouTube or listening, we've got representatives from Olly Murphy, Paul Nicholls, Nicky Henderson, including the incredible Constitution Hill. I'm hoping we get to see him strut his stuff today. This time last year, it didn't go quite as planned. But it's interesting, isn't it, this morning? Because there actually are a few storylines that develop from it.
Yeah, look, it's called the Coral Gold Cup Gallops morning, but we're under no illusions that it's got to be about more than just that one race, because there is so much more going on. The 2 days of Newbury, but as you say, Constitution Hill. He's the headline act in British racing, and that's off a season where things did not go to plan. I mean, it tells you, as I say, the box office attraction of him, that a lot of these people here today will have come to see him. I think Nicky Henderson deserves enormous credit. Michael Buckley, the owner, they keep fronting up with this horse. They could hide him away. They could do it all at 7 Barrows, but they don't, because Nicky and Michael understand that this horse is public property. That's what happens when you own the really good horses, the Corto Stars, the Denmans. The punters are entitled to feel that they're involved, they're invested, and it's going to be fascinating. I wouldn't want to be Nicky. I mean, bless him. His heart must be racing a little bit quicker than normal. Constitution Hill 12 months ago, as you said, what could have gone wrong did go wrong, and that happened throughout the season. But look, Nicky's comments have been pretty bullish. Yeah. He thinks he's better than ever, potentially. So he's the one, I think, myself included, we've all come to see.
Very much on target for the Fighting Fifth up at Newcastle on the same weekend. Interesting, this time last year, Constitution Hill worked with Sagino, this time working with therapists. A slight drop down. She's a very gallant mare herself, but talk about Coral's partnership with Newbury and this meeting. This morning is a real bonus to be part of as well from a Coral perspective, I take it.
Yeah, it really is. As I say, 4th year of our sponsorship of the feature race, 250 grand, richest handicap chase outside of the Grand National, which obviously in this day and age with such a focus on prize money is a huge achievement. Newbury are a pleasure to work with. For us, 4 years is very much in its infancy. 50 years of a Coral Eclipse, Coral Welsh National, 50 odd years. But this is a sponsorship that's only going to grow over the 2 days. And this event sits alongside it, and it is about engaging the fans, getting them closer to the action. I know it's a cliche, but this is what this morning's about. The fans are up close and personal, not just, by the way, with the horses, horses, with the trainers, with the jockeys. I mean, the lineup of jockeys here: Sean Bowen, Harry Cobden, Nico de Boinville, Gavin Sheehan, James Bowen. I mean, apologies to the ones I've missed out. It's, it is a proper. We haven't called it Breakfast with the Stars, but you could do.
Absolutely, and the listeners of this podcast will be delighted to know that Coral hopefully will have a long-standing relationship with the Coral Gold Cup, because we've had a few different names. It's been the Hennessy, it's been the Ladbrokes, but if we've got something consistent for a long period of time, that would be absolutely brilliant. From a personal point of view, who are you most looking forward to seeing this morning?
Well, look, I think bar Constitution Hill, which we all are, I'm really looking forward to seeing Inch House, because it represents last year's winning connections of the Can-Do Kid, Paul Nicholls, Michael Gagan. Resplendent Grey obviously is a 7-1 shot for the big race as well, so he's a leading fancy. But I'm also looking forward to some work rider called AP McCoy is getting a leg up on one. He's getting a leg up on Pagan, trained by Faye Bramley. He never won the Hennessy, the Ladbrokes Trophy, the Coral Gold Cup. Hope his luck changes this morning.
I know, incredible to see AP. Is there a particular reason why he's doing that?
I think Faye Bramley trains on his yard,
right? Okay,
or on his premises. Yeah.
Great to see AP strutting his stuff and rolling back the years. But he has worked this morning before, hasn't he?
He has indeed. Yeah. He's ridden some very good horses here in the past for Nicky, particularly. Champ being the headline one.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Henry de Bromhead on the phone a little bit later inside. I'm definitely going to try and get warm in there at that point. But great to see Irish raiders coming over, and I suppose the Coral Gold Cup has always had the Irish coming over, that element.
Yeah, but perhaps not as much as we'd like for the prize money. It'd be fascinating to see if Willie Mullins brings anything over, given the rich prize money up for grabs, of course, as he looks to defend his title. Henry de Bromhead, another one who is always welcome at these big meetings. We know what he's capable of doing, so I think he possibly will have maybe one, even two runners, a couple of 16-1 shots at the moment. But I mentioned Willie obviously in the title, got to mention Dan Skelton. Dan won the big race at Cheltenham at the weekend. Panic Attack, that winner, she could make a quick reappearance here. I think Dan's initial reaction was not to come to Newbury. She's obviously come out of the race well, and Dan's looking at that trainer's title and thinking, if she's well, 250 grand, Panic Attack. It's got all the ingredients, as it should, for a race of this prize money, but also the illustrious history.
Dave, how much would it add if Panic Attack was to run? A Paddy Power Gold Cup winner, then going up in trip, it'd be fascinating.
It really would. Celestial Gold was the last horse to do the double 20 years ago, 19 years ago maybe, trained by the Pipes. So, look, it's not a double that is attempted very often, but as I say, if Panic Attack is in good form at the moment, Dan can do very little wrong.
Well, I've been very kindly joined by trainer Paul Nicholls. We've seen 5 of his work this morning, and as this is going on, Constitution Hill is working in the background, so we'll try and get you to explain what's going on in a brief period. But 5 went out: Inch House in the waterside, Timurus, Captain Bellamy and Brave Kingdom. Are you happy with all 5?
Yeah, they all went nicely. They did what we wanted them to. They all finished in a heat. All looked like they were hard to pull up, so it was just a nice day out for them, and I was thrilled with Inch House, in particular because obviously it's a big day for him, a week on Saturday. He's come on tons from that Cheltenham race, where he ran very well till he just got a bit tired, and he hadn't really had a race for 18 months because last year was a write-off from his injury there. So yeah, thrilled with him, and the others all went. They went as we wanted them to, so thrilled with them.
What's the goal with something like this morning?
Just a day out for them and just put the finishing touches on them. That's all. And like some of those older horses liked something different, freshen them up. Inch House absolutely loved it. He was tanking Harry all the way around, and that's what you want to see.
You were successful in the race last year with Can-Do Kid. Does Inch House remind you of him at all?
Probably hasn't got the class of Can-Do Kid. I've always thought very highly of Can-Do Kid, as you know. But it's a handicap, and he's going to end up with pretty close to 10 stone. He's won round Newbury. He's very good left-handed. I just think he's a lively outsider, that's all. I'm not saying he's going to win or anything like that, but I think he'll run well.
In the waterside's always been extremely talented.
Yeah.
He's been slightly frustrating because he's a big horse. He's been fragile.
Yeah, he's fragile. That's the problem with him. Yeah. But he's a smart horse. He won his only chase last year. The idea, if he's all right, and then brings ground tries running the Peter O'Sullivan over 2 mile 6. But yeah, nice horse but fragile.
And no doubting his class.
No, he's got a lot of class.
I'm just going to ask you, Paul, to our right, Constitution Hill is at the back of 3, Active Innocence formerly with you in second, and Therapists at the front. With a horse of Constitution Hill's ability and what we've seen of him so far, and the question marks around him and what happened at the back end of last year, what do you think Nicky will be looking for from this?
Well, you'd like to think against those two, he'd probably pick them up and carry them in a minute, but they're just having a nice day out, nothing serious. I thought he looked fantastic walking around full of enthusiasm in the pre-parade there, and you'll see, they're not like anything silly because the race is only next week, but looks there like he's tanking along, and it wouldn't surprise me in a minute he pulls him out and he finishes in front. But Active Innocence is a smart horse. Would ground probably there be soft enough for him, in my opinion, but he'd be a smart horse. So he's not working with mugs. So I'd say Nico would pull him out now and just let him roll it. They've just quickened up and they've sprinted a bit now. Look. Well, he's hard on the bridle, isn't he?
So Nico has pulled him just alongside of Active Innocence. Therapist feeling the pinch ever so slightly. Yeah. But Constitution Hill looks like he's showing his class.
He's got plenty in hand there, hasn't he? So I'd be delighted. Look at that.
What do you think of this, Paul?
Yeah, well, that's just what you want to see. Nicky would be thrilled with that. He's different class to the others, isn't he? There, and look at that.
Constitution Hill quickens up past Active Innocence and puts a few lengths between him.
A bit different from this time last year, anyway.
Yeah.
But I'd say they'd be thrilled with that.
Want to talk to you about Caliph de Burley, if possible.
Yeah.
Obviously finished fourth in the Holden Gold Cup. We went back a few years, and Grenadine was beaten a similar distance in the Holden Gold Cup. I just wonder, is it definitely last time we see him over 2? Are you tempted?
Yeah, I'm tempted to put a line for that. We've had some great winners the last fortnight. We've had some very disappointing runs, which to now we haven't been able to put our finger on. I mean, it's very, very odd. Like Nardaran yesterday, he won 2 races really nicely. We thought he'd run well yesterday. We went to Marn, and Harry said, "You want travelling?" He pulled him up, and it's like you test them afterwards, you scope them afterwards, nothing, as we did with Caliph. But
so there's a bit of temptation to have another go at 2.
Well, I wouldn't. He's not entered in the Tingle Creek. Yeah. So if I was going to do something again, it might be with Chris Moore. I might even look at the Ascot ratio because he's shown us plenty at home. He's not as bad as he was the other day. And initially, it's quite hard. You strain a handicap off top weight. Yeah. They've gone flat out, and then so he's back on the back foot. But more I look at it, more I think I don't think he ran his race. I really don't. But ultimately, he's going to want a trip. I've got no doubt.
Well, the owners had lured us as well. I heard you saying that in an ideal world, he'd have probably gone to the Schlur, and you kind of think he wouldn't have had to give weight away to a rapidly improving Thither Last if he ran in the Schlur. And I know it sounds probably a strange thing to say, but it's probably not out the realms of possibility that it can get extremely close in a race like that. Even despite
hindsight is a wonderful thing. If I'd have known it was going to be on the slower side, I'd have probably could have waited. But when I had to make a decision between the Holden Gold Cup and the Slur Chase, there's John Bond was in there, who was rated quite a lot higher than us, and it looked like the ground was going to be good. And I was a bit nervous taking him on 2 miles round there on goodish ground. And of course, as it turned out, had all that rain, it ended up soft, and it obviously swayed against John Bon on that ground and played into Loader Sud's hands. And of course, we beat Loader Sud at Aintree last year. Admittedly, that was in the spring, and Loader Sud had a few different races, but I'm not going to write him off. He's a very smart horse. I've been there before with Clandersbed and Prodon. In that second season, when they were that age, they were a bit disappointing because they were big and weak and it didn't happen. And look where they ended up and what they did in the future. And I think it'll be the same. So I wouldn't write him off.
But it's probably inevitable at some point you might go up in trip.
Oh, without a shadow.
Maybe not definitely straight away. Although I know you mentioned the December Gold Cup.
I might enter him for that, but I haven't made a plan. I mean, if we did, I might even wait. I don't know. I mean, the Silver Knocker Conti Chase might sort of suit him. 2.5 at Kempton. He's won at Kempton. But at the moment, I'm just going to sit on the fence, take our time with him, and as I said, I think that put a line through that run for whatever reason. We're a bit frustrated, and as I said to you, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I wish I'd gone to Cheltenham now, but we didn't. And he's young, and we just got to look after him.
Talking of Cheltenham, the drama of the Sun was so impressive. Yeah. It looks like the shallow hurdle's next for him. Yeah. You've farmed that race in recent years. Does he remind you of any of those?
Yeah, I mean, he's just the form says that, doesn't it? Yeah. He's won a Grade 2 on his debut. He's pretty well unbeaten. He's not once had a slap in all those runs he's been. Always been hands and heels, and we wanted to find out. I mean, he's a funny horse. At home, he shows you nothing. Very laid back, does everything, looks as big as a bull. When he galloped here the other day with Caldwell Potter and Regent Strong there, he looked very impressive. That's what made me think, well, let's go for a good race and see. So he's obviously talented.
And he beat, throughout his whole career, he was so relaxed in the champion bumper. He beat a good one of Skelton's on debut at Warwick as well. I've got to ask you, Paul, since the weekend, you spoke about Denman when it comes to him, and maybe a few people have said, no, don't put the pressure on him. What do you think to that?
Well, I wasn't comparing him with Denman. I actually said we can dream that since Denman we haven't had one like him, and perhaps he might be in the future. No comparison whatsoever. You say these things, it gets taken out of all context. He's gone down the same sort of route, and he's going to follow that sort of route. I'm not saying he's Denman, I actually think that if there's a horse that could be as good as one of those in the past, perhaps, in inverted commas, it's him.
And that's the thing. I think in the interview that you said if.
Yeah.
If I've got a horse.
Yeah, that's what I said. If's a big word. But, there's not many horses win a Grade 2 on their debut over hurdles on their fourth run of their life with the ease that he did. So obviously, potentially, but we've got to nurture that, look after him. And, whatever he does over hurdles is going to be a bonus. And we can only dream that he stays sound, and we're lucky with him that he could be a very smart horse.
What's the latest with Regent Stroll?
He's fine. He's ready to run. He's in Ascot on Friday in a beginner's chase, but I'd love to come here next week for the 2.5 mile graded race on the Friday, the John Francombe, because I think the track will suit him. He scored brilliantly yesterday morning, which is good, because I was a bit nervous of him, whether he'd be a bit... Last year he's not concentrating and a bit bullish. He's settled down a lot this year, looks very well, but I would need some rain to run next week. I think we all do. I wouldn't want to run him on quick ground.
So he's unlikely to run this weekend?
I want to run it here next week if I can. If I can see...
Sorry, is it unlikely to run at Ascot, sorry?
Yeah, if I can see rain in the forecast for next week, I'd love to run him here. I mean, it's a bit brave straight in a Grade 2, but sometimes we have to do it. We haven't been able to run in a beginner's chase anywhere on the right ground, so we'll have to bite the bullet and go. But his schooling has been good, which is pleasing. He's got to start somewhere.
Well, coming back to Newbury in a couple of weeks' time, which horses are you most looking forward to? Obviously, Inch House is the likely one, but are there any others that you're looking forward to letting unleash?
Yeah, I've got a nice 3-year-old filly called Go Cast that won at O'Toy the last time she ran. She's in the juvenile hurdle, the fillies race. Obviously, Regent Stroll, Captain Bellamy, who worked this morning, we're running a novice handicap chase. We've got a whole heap of horses that we can run, but as normal, it'll be very competitive. But it's a meeting we look forward to.
Well, thanks for talking, Paul, and very best of luck.
My pleasure.
Well, that was Paul Nicholls, who I thought was in quite good form, talking about his horses here today, as well as No Drama This End on the weekend. It doesn't look like it's definitely going to be up in trip on his next run for Caliph de Burley. But over the last couple of days, we've had some fascinating novice chase performances and novice chase debuts. On Sunday, we had Final Demand. Yesterday, we had Lulamber, who was very impressive at Exeter. At Navan, we had Kopek de Board, who was equally as impressive, maybe in my view, possibly a little bit more than Lulamber. Looked more of a natural 2-miler to me, but the person that's going to break down the numbers and the Timeform numbers is Dan Barber.
It's probably a little easier nowadays to establish the pecking order amongst Willie Mullins's incredible team of novices than it is to get everyone to agree on a consensus as to which point and which fixture denotes the start of, in inverted commas, the jump season proper. Some will say Wetherby, some will still say Chepstow, some will probably say the showcase at Cheltenham, but if anyone's still clinging to the belief that it hasn't happened yet, then they must have had their eyes closed over the course of the last few days, as we saw just performance of note after performance of note amongst novice chasers. Most recently, on Monday, Kopek de Board, 150p with Timeform, and Lulamber, who ran to a figure of 145 with a large P, denoting the likelihood of significant improvement. They were the two latest to emerge, and in the days before, we saw a tremendous battle between July Flower and Be Aware. July Flower, with a £7 allowance, would be just about the second or third highest rated novice, according to Timeform at this point. Her battle with Be Aware was a real highlight of the Cheltenham Open meeting. But best of all, according to the ratings, and probably visual impression too, was Final Demand, who ran to 154, and he has a P after his absolutely faultless start over fences at Navan. That's all well and good. Clearly, they are 5 horses of great potential and great ability. But for a bit of context, how do they compare with the last 5 winners of the Arkle, say, from what they did on their chasing debut? And I think it's pretty good news. Higher than Edward Stone in most cases. Shishkin's 152 was eclipsed by Final Demand and would have been eclipsed by July Flower had she run against him with the allowance. Not quite as high as El Fabiolo's 157, admittedly, but way higher than what Gaelic Worry did in his chasing debut. And Django Bay's 152 at Cheltenham as well, still surpassed by Final Demand. The traditionalists may still be crying that it's not started yet, and they may have been moaning as well about the fact that the ground and the configuration of the track had some impact on the races over the weekend, particularly over hurdles, given how clear it seemed that you needed to be as wide as possible. But those cynics can take a back seat for a second, because what we've just seen over the last 5 days didn't just feel great and didn't just look great. The Timeform numbers very much suggest that it was great.
That was Dan Barber there talking about Cup at the Board and Lulamba. Fascinating to hear what he had to say. I personally think that both of them were very, very good. I think Lulamba, even last year, I don't think he's Sagino. I think people are putting 2 and 2 together. Same silks, same trainer, similar campaign last year. Obviously went and won at Aintree, and are just thinking that this is Sagino 2.0. He's obviously going chasing as a 4-year-old, so I think it's really easy to make that comparison, but I think they are two very different types of horse. For me, Sagino, complete speedball. Lulamba, not so much. I thought that maybe one more year, personally, over hurdles would have done it really, really nicely. You could go down that middle distance route with him, maybe even the race at Ascot this weekend. They've chosen not to do that. They've chosen to go chasing, and he was very, very good, don't get me wrong. And knowing Nicky Henderson, I think he'll try and keep him at the absolute minimum until he has to go up. I know they're talking about him being more of a stayer, but I definitely see maybe the Wayward Lad, the Henry VIII or something like that, being on his agenda. When it comes to Cup at the Board, he did very little wrong last year. I can forgive him. Punchestown, so many horses underperform at Punchestown, but he was very, very good. I thought he learnt on the job. The first couple of fences, Paul Townend had to get a bit of a hold of him, but once he relaxed into it a little bit more, he was very, very good. He was accurate, he was quick, and then once Paul let him a little bit of rein up the straight, he took off. So extremely, extremely encouraging. Right, let's get back and see if we can find any more. Well, very kindly joined here at Newbury by trainer Olly Murphy, who sent 6 horses to the Coral Gold Cup Gallops morning. You sent Resplendent Grey, Booster Bob, Kingston Pride, Dominic's Fault in the first group, then followed by Strong Leader and Dr. Ken. Were you happy with all of them?
Yeah, I was, Josh. They did a very kind of routine bit of work this morning, had a nice canter around for a mile and a half and just picked up for 2 furlongs. So, yeah, very happy with them all. All looked in good form, kind of moved good and win was good. So, yeah, looking forward to kind of a week Friday, week Saturday. Well,
we've got the big race here in 2 weeks' time, Resplendent Grey. I know this has been the long-term plan. Was Carlisle expected?
Absolutely not. I'd kind of accepted defeat before I even kind of let him out onto the racetrack, to be honest. Left his headgear off, obviously dropping him back to 2.5 miles. Didn't look the most ideal thing to do, but it looked a lovely prep race for him all the same. So, yeah, I was very, very pleased with him. He looked sharp. So, yeah, I think he's going to come forward from that, and really looking forward to a week Saturday.
Well, I was going to say this to you because he's had 17 runs, he's won 7 times, 13 top 3 finishes, 3 wins over 2 miles, 3 wins over 2.5, and 1 at 3-4. Is he not just a really classy horse over any distance?
Yeah, no, you could be right. He's definitely not as slow as he's made out a couple of times. He actually travelled around fine in the Bet 365. In the National Hunt Chase now, I think he hated being down the inside and kind of curled up a bit and then came home strong. But yeah, I think he's a strong stayer, but at the same time he kind of can jump and travel as well. So hopefully he's just matured a bit. He used to race with a hood on. He now races with set of cheek pieces on, so he's changed. The typical son of walk in the park, he can be a little bit hot, a little bit fiery, but he's got a big engine.
He was put up £6 for that win at Carlisle. How much tougher does that make the job?
Yeah, obviously slightly tougher, but I think you need a prep run to win a Hennessy and or a Coral Gold Cup, and yeah, it is what it is. Probably not ideal, is it? But I certainly didn't envisage him doing that. And yeah, Mick Meagher told me Many Clouds won a Colin Parker, went up 6, and then won a Coral Gold Cup. So hopefully, yeah, it's not possible.
Well, you need the class to do it. Another one of the horses I wanted to talk to you about was Booster Bob. So much promise as a young horse, but he really got his act together in the Greatwood Gold Cup here last year, and that form's working out really nicely. The second's gone and finished second in the Paddy Power. The third, Saint Segal, was second in the Holden Gold Cup. He's risen £5 for that, but he could be extremely well handicapped. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
You're nodding like a man who fancies him in a couple of weeks' time.
I'd like to see him go round like he did in Foss first time last year instead of how he went round here when he won the Greatwood. But he's good fresh. He's exuberant when he's fresh. I'm going to leave his hood off. I think the triple suit him kind of down to the ground. He's in good form, versatile ground-wise, and Yeah, whether he wins the Speed to O'Sullivan or what, I can guarantee you he'll be off higher than 133 now at the end of the year.
Well, the Nichols Daily listeners will be very excited to be hearing that. A Kingston Pride, 4 from 6, made a winning chasing debut for you at Perth when Tripoli Flyer came down 3 out. We don't know exactly what was going to happen, but he did it very well from then on, jumped very nicely. I got the impression from you when you bought him that you always had graded contests in mind.
Yeah, I thought it'd make up to a lovely chaser. Obviously, he was in a dispersal sale, which is obviously unfortunate for his previous trainer, but he wasn't in a sale through a lack of ability and someone wanted to move him on. So, yeah, classy horse, jumps well. I think that run in Perth will stand him in good stead. I think the better the ground, the better he'll be, and I'm excited about him. I think he's got a right bit of class.
Strong leader, returned in the West Yorkshire Hurdle. Had to be tough, had to really put his head down to go and take no chances of the Skeltons. He won the long distance hurdle here last year. What type of mood is he in comparison to this time last year?
Well, he's had a run. We came here fresh last year and had a right blow, albeit he won well. Nice to have got a run under his belt. Probably going to fit him with a set of cheek pieces on Sean's recommendation, albeit from the trainer's point of view, I'm not sure he was in love with Weatherby. From turning into winning line and Weatherby on good ground, you want to be sharp, 3 hurdles in quick succession, and I'm not sure that's his forte now. Bang, 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 and round here in Aintree you've got a bit of time from the second last to the last, and then a long time from the last to the winning line, which does suit him well. So he'll probably be fitted with a set of cheek pieces. I think he's stripped fitter for a run, and we're looking forward to running him.
But you were really keen to get the run into him beforehand.
I was. We're just obviously Esker left-handed, Josh, and there's not loads of options after Newbury and in 10 days' time. So yeah, I wanted to get 2 runs into him kind of before Christmas, and then we've got an option of maybe a Rendlesham or going over to Ireland, or maybe having a look back at Cheltenham.
Well, you had a winner at the Cheltenham November meeting and some high-profile runners over the last few days. I have to ask you about Fingal Bridge. You finished second to Lulamba on chasing debut at Exeter. What did you think of that?
I was delighted in the end. I was very, very disappointed halfway round. They were very quick down to the first, and he got a bit of a fright. He's had no racing. He's had 3 runs over hurdles in his life, no point-to-point run. And he just got a fright down over the first, and then over the second, third and fourth he was very, very deliberate, and the kind of race is gone then. And that's the best thing about having a stable jockey, about having a jockey that wants to work with you. He looked after him, minded him. He wasn't going to win in the month of Sundays. I can get why a punter thinks Sean maybe should have done a little bit more on him in an earlier part of the race, but there was no point putting that horse on the floor yesterday and having a real bad experience. That was going to make a huge disruption to his season. So he let him get back into the race, finished it out well. Actually, I don't even think he gave him a smack behind the saddle and finished second. Winner was very impressive. We want softer ground, 2.5 miles, and his Gold Cup this year is the Scilly Isles. Yeah.
Where next then?
There's 2 races for him, both at Lingfield actually, both over 2 miles. Hopefully on a right bit of slow ground. I think maybe 13th of December and 5th of Jan. I'd like to get 2 more runs into him before we get a Sandown, and Sandown's his Gold Cup. The only reason he'd ever see Cheltenham now if it was soft or worse.
What makes you say that?
He's fragile, going up and down hill now wouldn't be a forte of his, especially on kind of good ground. So I think you'd have to see a very, very wet Cheltenham now for him to be turning up there, albeit there's a lot of prize money to be won elsewhere. So yeah, we've kind of going to target the Scilly Isles as his Gold Cup, and he's got a very, very good jump in him. He's going to be a very good jumper, but just needs the experience.
Well, Grade 1 ambitions for Fingal Bridge. We've got to talk about Wade Out, who won at Cheltenham on Friday. Now, I watched the interview afterwards and I saw you talking about the National Hunt Chase, and I was thinking he might be way too good for that at this point. He's been given £5 to 142, 143. You must be fairly happy with that.
Yeah, I thought that was fair enough, wasn't it? He ended up bolting up in the end. He was just never going. He's not slow either. That's the most frustrating thing. He's not as slow as he looks. He's just bone idle, and he's not ungenuine either. He sticks his own. He does stick his nose out.
He's got. There's almost something a bit Paisley Park about him, in the sense of even if you ran him over when he was running over 2 as a novice hurdler, 2.5 as a novice hurdler, his best furlong was always his last.
Yeah, he does stay well, and because he relaxes so well, you'll always see him kind of come home strong too. So, yeah, it was a pleasing day in the end. Again, a bloody uncomfortable watch, but yeah, my jockey was very good in him, and he just hung in there, didn't he? And yeah, basically outstayed him in the end.
I've got to ask you as well, Alnalam, I was expecting to see him at the November meeting, but he wasn't there. I don't know what's happened with the horse, but where are we likely to see him?
He's going to go straight for a King Henry VIII. I was very disappointed to hear Nicky say he was going there with Lalumba, but yeah, I just thought after his first 2 performances, I thought, why not? We'll go and have a rattle and see how we get on. He's a big, headstrong front runner, and if he gets into a rhythm, listen, I know Lalumba's going to be very, very hard to beat, but sometimes you've got to go and have a go, and you've got to stand up in those novice chases, and if he gets in a rhythm, and yeah, if we can make life uncomfortable for Lalumba and a few more down over those railway fences, who knows?
Well, obviously you were there yesterday with Fingal Bridge. What did you think of the winner?
I was impressed. He was very much on his toes beforehand and down at the start. I don't know whether that's usually him or not, but yeah, I was impressed by him. It was a good novice chase yesterday. I think the best novice chase we've seen in England this season thus far. I know my horse is good.
Yeah. So he's got to be good to beat him.
He's very good. Lalumba is obviously very, very good, and I wouldn't fancy taking him on too many more times this season, but I was impressed with him.
Back here in 2 weeks' time, we'll wrap up with the horse that you're most looking forward to running here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I suppose being obvious, Resplendent Grey. He's been trained for the race. He's in very, very good form. I feel like he's still progressing, and I was very, very pleased with his run at Carlisle. I think that's going to stand him in real good stead.
Well, very best of luck, Ollie.
Okay, top man, thanks, Josh.
Well, I've been joined by someone who I probably wouldn't expect to be here maybe a week or 2 ago, and that's Rob Hornby, who was riding work for Nicky Henderson, a board therapist. How was that?
Yeah, something different, wasn't it? No, really good experience. Road therapist, who's a horse I actually know from the flat. I've ridden her a couple of times, and she was able to lead the Great Constitution Hill, which was something I didn't think I'd be doing a week ago anyway, that's for sure.
Does it feel different compared to what you're used to?
Yeah, massively. I actually I went into Nicky's on Friday and Saturday just with my girlfriend. She dragged me out of bed, and I went in there, and you've got to go so much slower. Like, you've got to remember flat jockeys, when they're doing a piece of work, they wouldn't go much further than 6 furlongs really, where these famous gallops at 7 Barrows, they're going over 1.25 miles, and you've really got to get your fractions right early on, because you could really fall in a heap at the top. And again today, you've just got to really testing ground out there, particularly in the last 2 furlongs. As flat jockeys would probably have the meeting abandoned if we come across that ground, but it's amazing how these horses find another leg. And leading on therapist today, coming inside the last 2, probably wasn't her ideal ground, but you could see the other 2 horses just powered clear, and then Constitution Hill went on again. Just shows what an engine he has, and really exciting time for Summer Barrows and all the team, and I'll be watching closely.
So despite them going a good bit slower than what you're used to, you can still appreciate the class of, say, a horse like Constitution Hill.
Absolutely. Like I say, we worked them over 1.6 miles today, and we've just tried to increase all the way through. The ground is actually quite nice down the back and along the side, but it's quite chewed up inside the last 3 furlongs. But you're going through the gears, and then therapist slightly fell away, but the other 2 powered clear, and then Constitution Hill was able then to still finish through the line strongly. And it makes you appreciate the class that these horses have on such testing conditions.
Nico happy?
He was, very happy. He doesn't let too much go, does he, Nico? I've obviously got to know him a little bit better in the last couple of weeks, but he keeps a bit under his hat.
But you got the vibe that he was.
He's delighted with at this stage of Constitution Hill's preparation, and was there 2 weeks to go now till Newcastle, so very, very much an exciting time of year.
What's the winter going to look like for you?
So I'm just tipping away. We've had a bit of a break with the flat jockeys for 2 weeks, which has been really nice. A bit of time to just reset, refresh, and the all-weather season is quite busy, really. So it's pretty much 12 months of the year for us. If you're not going abroad, there's still a lot more racing to do and keep you busy. And the calendar there are some nice races to hopefully try and win and compete in. So I'll be staying in England, try and ride as many winners as I can, and build a bit of momentum looking into the flat season going forwards.
And maybe ride a bit more work for Nicky.
Yeah, I'd say I'll be back there. I really enjoy it. I came from a bit of a national hunt background really, and it was only because of my height that I went on the flat really. I was always steering towards the jumps, probably a blessing in disguise. If you ask most jump jockeys, they'd think you're mad wanting to do it, but I'll be watching with a close eye and looking forward to seeing how all the Seven Barrows team get on.
Well, I've been very kindly joined by Frankie Foster here at Newbury. It is very cold. I think it's got colder since we arrived.
It's cold.
And the frost has lifted since then. But Frankie, you've spent the last month, you've been in Paris, you've been in Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup, you've been in Bahrain. This is a very different event. How much do you enjoy this one?
Love it, yeah. A few people have made that joke this morning, said slightly colder climates than where I've been, and I've been very lucky, as you pointed out, to go around the world to various racing fixtures and events, but this one's awesome, and I've spent all morning saying we should probably do more of this for big jumps fixtures. When tracks do have a good 2-day meeting, particularly when they have a race that the meeting revolves around, like the Coral Gold Cup, then this really sort of gets people talking ahead of time, rather than, I think sometimes in racing, because there's so much of it, races almost stumble, they almost take us by surprise. We go, oh God, it's the Coral Gold Cup this Saturday. Whereas doing this the week before allows us to start to think about it, to talk about some of the key contenders, and that gets people's minds not just thinking about watching the race, but maybe coming down. So I think it's great, and it's been really busy this morning. Over 150 members of Newbury here. I think the track do a great job with the local community, so a lot of people that live local to here will have had the chance to come down, so it's all been really positive.
Well, I've been here, lucky enough to be here with you for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've never seen so many people here compared to this morning.
Yeah, I think it's really come on in terms of numbers, which is a credit to the team here, because I think people will have seen it on social media and decided I'm going to give that a go next year. And also I think a credit to the trainers and jockeys. They have really been willing to chat this morning, and that makes a big difference as well, because for all that we love to see horses exercise, you don't learn loads from a relatively routine gallop on the track, and if that is all we could get from this morning, then it might not be quite as exciting. But when you pair that with comments from the jockeys and the trainers, it brings it all together, and everyone's been very willing to chat. I think because they agree this is good for the sport, it's good for building some hype for next weekend.
Well, you went to I was going to say a similar event to this, Breakfast with the Stars over in Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. Other than the obvious with the weather, how do the events compare?
Well, I guess they are different. There's lots that are different. I guess if I was to say things that I've enjoyed this morning, Richard Hoyle's commentary has made a big difference, and the jockeys wearing the silks and having a bit of information as you see them gallop has helped. Even little things like it being explained that Rob Hornby was on one of the flat horses upside, or the other horse upside Constitution Hill, and he's about 2 stone lighter, so that almost handicapped them. Little things like that, I think, if you're a fan that had come down for the day, would be a bit more educational to understand the exercise that's been going on. And then also the post-race interview, or post-gallop interviews with Hayley have given people quite a lot of insight, so that's been really good. Horses being saddled in the pre-parade ring has given people a chance to see horses, and it's all been quite relaxed, which has been nice. To compare it to Del Mar, I mean, obviously Breeders' Cup is it's more American, it's more there's more pompous and ceremony, and it's slightly heightened, but it's somewhat the same in terms of there's a commentator on the overhead. You know which horses you're looking at. Trainers, jockeys. I suppose the difference here is I don't think owners will have made their way down. Actually, Michael Buckley's here to see Constitution Hill, so there's a bit of that.
What do you think of him?
I mean, as good as he might have looked, I suppose. The other horses were tired. He picked them up nice and easily. Nico seemed happy. Nicky seemed happy. I spoke to Nico before, and I kind of suggested, what can I really ask you? What can you really tell me? Because he'll be working well, he looks well, but I don't think anybody truly knows till he hits the track. But there are added benefits to today as well, because everybody still loves to see him.
Are you a believer then? Newcastle fighting fifth in a couple of weeks' time. Come on, you can't sit on the fence.
I wouldn't have any money on. I'd happily let him go and win without a penny on. I don't feel like I need to back him and be a strong believer, but I'd like to see him back to his best. Obviously, everyone would. I suppose that kind of is hedging to not being quite a believer as I have been in the past.
Well, it's
I always was. Yeah. I was to the bitter end almost, and I've sort of seen him struggle enough times.
Did you see Lulamba yesterday?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really impressive. Probably more impressed with Copac de Boards. If you were to ask me Lulamba versus Copac de Boards at this stage, I would probably have the Irish team.
So if Cheltenham was in a month's time?
I'd back Copac de Boards, yeah. I just think his engine is unbelievable. I think like he could go through about 5 fences and keep motoring on, and he jumped brilliantly anyway. So, Monday was mad, wasn't it? Monday was a lot.
It was a great
There was a lot to take in,
We're going to have to be slightly quiet when we're talking about Copac de Boards being slightly more impressive than Lulamba, because Nicky Henderson isn't far away. But it's been brilliant to catch up with you.
As always.
What's up with you for the next couple of weeks? What are you doing?
Gosh, where am I? I've got a weekend off this weekend. You never know, though. I might go to Ascot on the Friday. They do that £1 entry on the Friday. I'm looking forward to seeing Wood, who hopefully race at Ascot on Saturday. And then here next weekend, which will be awesome. And then Hong Kong.
Really?
Yeah, for the international races out there, which is unbelievable.
Not your first time, is it?
No, that's a racecourse and organisation which do lead the way.
What did you think of the very first time you went over? How amazing is it?
It's it's overstimulating almost the first time, which I love, by the way, not in a negative way. Just like you're in the city, the race course is crazy. The thing that's most impressive about Hong Kong is the way that it's ran and how organised things are and how efficient they are, but not in a boring way. They're incredibly efficient at running events in a way that's super fun as well. It's just a well-oiled machine. They do it bigger and better, and it's really cool. Whenever anybody asks me that's not a racing fan, like, oh, what's your coolest thing you do? I nearly always say Hong Kong.
Very kindly been joined here at the Coral Newbury Gallops morning by trainer Harry Durham, who sent 6 here this morning. All well?
All good, Josh, yeah. Very happy with them all. Didn't want to learn a massive amount about them. Vianney wanted to have a bit more of a blow than the rest of them, and he did. Very pleased. Great to get them away, great to get them on a bit of soft ground. I always think horses gallop differently on grass for the better. Very, very happy with them, yeah.
You're not too far away from here, training-wise. How handy is it having a morning like this?
I think it does them good, as I say, just getting them on grass. And like, for example, a horse like Just Enemy and Vianney, neither of them have run for quite a while. Here in the tannoy, seeing a few people just gets their heart rate up a bit. I think that does them the world of good. But yeah, I mean, that's beautiful ground out there this morning. Newbury's as good a track as there is, and good to get them to have a nice gallop.
So instead of like a hard piece of work, it's more just the final touches.
Yeah, like they're all of them are pretty fit at this stage now, but I just think they let themselves go a bit differently on grass, and this timing is perfect for next weekend, and as you say, we're basically neighbours, so it's nice to come and support it.
It's the first time I've spoken to you since the David Maxwell dispersal sale, and you went to 320 grand to keep Just Enemy. What is it about him that it really stands out? Why were you so keen to keep him in the yard?
I hope that you'll all see why this season.
Right.
Look, I think he's a very good horse. He scored very well over fences. He's had all the time he needed. Last season he was ready to run in the spring, and I think David rightly decided that we weren't going to, because often these French horses do need a bit of time, and I just think he's a really smart horse. He's got to go and do it. It's obviously not all about his first run. He hasn't run for a very long time, but I'm looking forward to getting him out there. We'll go straight chasing, and I hope that in the spring you'll see why I spent a lot of money on him.
Well, he's won 2 starts in France. Well, he's won 2 from 3 starts in France. What type of horse is he? Is he a quick horse? Is he a stayer?
No, I think he has a high cruising speed. I think he'll eventually stay. We're actually having the sort of thought about whether we start off at 2 or 2.5 at the moment, and I don't think it matters too much. I'm not too worried about his first run. I think he'll end up this season over 2.5 miles. He's not slow, but for the first run this season, I just don't want to bottom him out. So he's a lovely horse. He's got high cruising speed, good jumper. He'll have another school over fences before he runs, but he's one I'm really looking forward to. Yeah.
Another nice horse that you brought was Mossy Fen Road, bumper winner, who ran a big race in the entry bumper as well. What do we think of him?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with him. He, with this season, I think he's matured nicely. He's schooled very well. He's ready to start now. He'll go back end of next week wherever the ground is soft. He does need soft ground.
Could he come here?
He could easily come here on Friday. Yeah. The thing is, with all of these horses now, I mean, all of these horses I brought here this morning, I think they're well above average, and I think they're bloody smart, but they have to go and do it now. They're all nice horses. We've brought them along. They're at varying stages, but they're all, with the exception of Dear Old Darge, they're all younger, progressive horses. They've got to go and prove that they're what I think they are now.
I suppose that the Clondall Park falls into that category as well. Yet to make a start for you, but you went to 320 grand at the Cheltenham Festival sale. When it comes to this horse, you're pitching her at quite a high level, right?
I am, yeah. She'll run in the listed mares Novice Hurdle next Saturday. I think it's only upside, to be honest. If she gets placed, well, she's a certainty in a maiden hurdle at Christmas, and if she wins, she's very, very good, isn't she? But I like her. I believe that she'll hold her own in a race of that class. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've not been impressed with her, because I'm obviously going to go straight there. So I have been immensely impressed with it, but she has to go and do it. And it's the same for all of those horses. It's no good them looking nice on a gallop this morning. They need to look nice in the afternoons. But she's a lovely mare. Has done everything that I've asked of her very nicely so far, and this morning she behaved beautifully. There's not much walk in the park in her, actually. She, some of them are a bit lively, but she's good temperament, and I'm looking forward to running her. Yeah.
Well, you're in a unique position because you've been training a number of years. You've proven that you can do it at a high level. You've proven you can do it on the big day, but now there are different types of horses in the yard in the sense of extremely expensive young ones. Does that have an added pressure to things?
It might outwardly. It doesn't for me. My team and I are very, very keen to get the best out of all the horses that we've got. I would disagree with you saying I've proved that I can do it with good horses. Yeah, I hope I'm proving,
right.
And I'm trying to establish myself to win those better races. And the start of this season has gone well to, win 100 grand handicap with Teddy Blue, and Grade 2 with One Horse Town is great. But they're what they're saying is I'm trying to compete on that level, those better races, and obviously. Having access to more quality stock helps, and I hope that Clondors and Mossies and Kiwis and plenty of them at home in the next 3-4 years are going to be those types of horses to run those better races. I mean, the dream ultimately is to be sat this gallop morning and one of those youngsters being voted for a Coral Gold Cup or something like that. Now, I don't have those horses yet. I don't have many chasers at all. But that's the dream, that's the goal. You want those young horses that are running in novice hurdles or juvenile hurdles to be running in better races later on. So that's what I'm aspiring to.
And Ed's been busy, so he's trying to get as many of them in as possible.
Yeah, we bought a lot of horses, and some really nice ones in the spring. And I obviously bought Just Enemy back on my own. I didn't need his help to find out that he was good. My cousin Megan, she's bought plenty of nice flat horses for me, and Vianney probably being the most notable one at the moment, and I'm looking forward to him as well.
That's it then from the Coral Gallops morning here at Newbury Racecourse. Really great to speak to so many of the key faces here, including Paul Nicholls, Olly Murphy, Harry Derham, even spoke to Rob Hornby. So great to be here. We do hope you've enjoyed this back home. Didn't manage to get hold of Nicky, although he's very happy with Constitution Hill. There is a massive crowd of local radio stations and journalists around Nicky Henderson, and it's not particularly easy to get him. So forgive me for that one, but a great morning. Hope you've enjoyed it, and Nick will be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to Nick Luck Daily. This episode has been brought to you in association with Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis, by Total Performance Data, the world leader in thoroughbred performance technology, and by FitzDares.